Most people think you need years of experience to go full-time as a music producer, but I just helped a college student do it before he even graduated audio school. He was studying full-time, still working a part-time job, and starting completely from scratch in a brand new city. I'm going to show you exactly how we pulled this off and how you can too. But first, here's how this journey began.
I knew I loved audio for sure, but I was a little bit lost and confused on where exactly in the audio industry I wanted to cement myself in confidently. And then after an internship and specific session with somebody who became my mentor, I was like, this is what I got to do. This is what I want. And so I started to really take things seriously there in regards to going to sessions. I was assisting all the time. I was avoiding school like the plague to assist sessions.
This showed me that Skyler, despite being new to the game, was already more serious than your average college student. He took it upon himself to land an internship, find a mentor, and start getting real session experience. And what's important is that by doing all of this, he had already attached himself to a legitimate studio, which becomes a big part of his strategy later in this video. But here's the thing. Anyone can say that they're passionate about music and want to make it their career. What I always want to know is what's driving them underneath that, because that is what will prevent them from giving up too soon when this gets hard. So I asked Skyler, why does he need to make this work so bad?
I've worked in a lot of places. I hate having a boss.
Hating your job is a powerful motivator, but rarely is that enough on its own. Luckily, Skyler had an even deeper reason driving him to do this.
The other most important thing is my relationship and my future in regards to my relationship with my fiance. I need to be able to support both of us, not because we have a super traditional mindset or whatever, but it's more so out of necessity because my fiance is chronically ill. So I really need to be able to make that difference in terms of what each of us can put in financially to the relationship in order to make it work.
Now that is the wound that I'm going to poke if he ever slacks off. That is a strong motivator. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but producers don't just hire me for fun. These are people who have already bought courses, hired coaches, dropped 6 figures on audio school, and they still don't have full-time careers as producers.
If there's one thing I could say about audio school is they do not set you up for success. It's at least in the experiences that I've had in college doing audio, it's so bad. It's the first semester that I took in college, I was very hopeful. I was very amped up. I was very energized. I was oh, sick. I recorded my band in high school. I want to learn a little bit more about this audio stuff, this recording stuff. But yeah, no, college really didn't give me any trajectory towards go to these studios or talk with these people. There's no business classes. There's no education on what it's like to work as a freelance producer.
And most young producers who go to audio school have a similar experience. They're sold a dream, and when reality doesn't match that dream, they just write it off as a loss and go get a regular job. But Skyler didn't want to be that statistic, and as graduation got closer, he knew that he was going to have to do something different and fast.
There really was a moment where it was shit, I gotta figure this out because a college is not going to be forever.
Skyler wasn't brand new to producing, I want to make that clear, but he was brand new to doing it for a living. And the main difference between music being a hobby and a profession is simple. Money is now involved. So I needed to find out where his head was at when it came to making money.
I had only charged once with one client. Besides that, all of my work was free. I had no idea how to price myself accordingly. And I had a really little experience at all when it came to how art and sales mix without getting too salesy, if you know what I mean by too salesy, because it is art at the end of the day. And it was always intimidating to me to put a price tag on that, especially when I wasn't as confident in my ability. Most people that I talked to, besides my mentor, were saying if you're going to be a music producer, you have to get used to being broke. And I think that freaked me out a little bit.
There are a lot of producers who are very talented at making music, but are terrible at doing it for a living. And they have normalized being broke, also known as the starving artist mentality. But I can't have Skyler going into this process believing that, because 1, it's not true. 2, it'll stop his career before it even starts. It's just this extra layer of unnecessary anxiety. So the first thing I did was just get him around producers from my network, people he could actually look up to, ones who were both talented at making music and making money. I put him in sessions with major label writers so he could see what it's like to operate at that level creatively. Obviously, Skyler isn't a top 1% producer yet, but through his internship, his own bands, and working with peers at college, he had a solid enough portfolio. If I'm working with a producer that doesn't have a solid portfolio yet, then obviously that's the first thing that we have to build. But Skyler was ready to start going out and finding clients.
95% of my projects are bands, like emo, pop punk, punk rock, indie rock, alt rock. Like, I've narrowed it down to that.
Since he wanted to work with bands primarily, it made sense for us to just start out in his local scene first. But there was a problem. Skyler goes to school in San Diego. That's not where he's from. He didn't grow up playing in that scene, which is usually the biggest advantage a producer has locally. We had to start from scratch. So the first thing I had him do was go identify at least 100 bands in the area that he wanted to work with.
I would go to like flyers, like show flyers, and I would just start checking out the bands that are tagged in the show flyers. And then I would go to those band show flyers, start checking out the bands that are tagged in those show flyers. And I think I researched somewhat like 150 bands across 2 different counties, San Diego and LA. And I just like started listening to all their music.
And once he had a list of artists he was interested in working with, this is what he did next.
The second thing that I would do was I would comment and reach out. This was part of the strategy. So I would always start off with like commenting on something or just like giving it a week or two. And then I just send him a message with a compliment. And that would be it. Just a compliment.
And it might sound kind of weird, but I explained to Skyler that this is basically like dating. Don't overthink it or spend hours researching every artist at this stage. Just shoot your shot and get a vibe check. That'll tell you pretty quickly whether or not it's worth putting more time into the relationship.
The reply to that compliment is how I would gauge whether or not they wanted to like continue a conversation. Because a lot of bands will reply like, "Oh, dude, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that. That's awesome for you to say." And then some bands would just be like. And with those bands, I usually I don't follow up with them just because the vibe is like, please don't bother me. I can tell you're a music producer. We're good.
But just hitting up bands on Instagram all day isn't going to lead to paid work. Artists don't hire producers unless 2 things fall into place, and you need both. Having one without the other doesn't work, and it's exactly why most producers fail at networking. Those 2 things are trust and bond. Trust is knowing the producer is legitimate and can actually do the job well. Bond is feeling a personal and creative connection with that specific producer. And you shouldn't ever talk about money with an independent artist until you have both of those things in place first. Most producers bring up price beforehand, and it doesn't work, which is why they start believing that, oh, it's just no one has a budget. But in reality, they're trying to sell themselves with a process that is incomplete. So here's how I had Skyler start developing trust and bond with the artists he was meeting.
For the bands that are like, being responsive and being like reciprocal of like my energy, I'll continue a conversation with them. And I would always, once it got to the studio portion where they're, I'm like, what are you working on type of thing? I'd be like, hey, like I got a really cool connection with this studio in Encinitas called Big Fish. It's where like Blink recorded, Megadeth, even like heavier bands recorded there. Drive Like Jehu, San Diego Classic. It's the best place. I love it so much. I would love for you guys to come and check out the studio if you just want to like see the history and like give it a look. And 95% of the time they would say yes.
Remember when I mentioned earlier that attaching himself to a legitimate studio first was going to come in handy? That's what I was talking about. It gave him instant credibility in a brand new city. But you may not have that at your disposal yet. And that's okay. This can still work because there's something else that you can do instead.
A lot of the times there were situations where it's like, oh, we can't get all the band members at the same time at that time at the studio. Or like, oh, we live too far from the studio, like to like go there after or before practice. But okay, let me just come to your guys' practice, see what you're working on. I would love to meet you all in person. And usually they would say yes. I would say 90% of the time.
And once Skyler had built that trust and bond, I taught him one simple thing that gave him the power to seamlessly transition into a paid project in a way that feels organic. Don't pitch your services. Don't ask about budgets. Instead, just ask them questions. Ask about their goals, their obstacles, and what they're trying to accomplish. Then at the end of the conversation, Just tell them what you would do if you were in their situation, how you'd make their next record, and why you would do it that way, as if you were a fifth member of their band. 9 times out of 10, they'll say, dude, that sounds amazing. What do you charge? Tell them your rate. If it's good to go, book the first session right then. Since Skyler's starting out, I'm not worried about him charging top dollar. I just need his project fees to be based on an hourly rate that covers his bills, given the limited amount of time he has outside of school. That's how we determine his rate. I believe it started around 25 an hour, something like that, and then slowly went up.
Dude, it was crazy. It was literally I went from, I think it was maybe 2 months into Dark Label where I started to see real money come in, and I was just like, bam, I can do this. And I know all of that doubt just disappeared immediately.
Producers at this stage don't have to have all their ducks in a row. They don't need credits or a fancy website or to make tons of content. They just need to use the resources they already have and execute a simple strategy, one that they can repeat over and over again until they get really good at it. And it's my job to make sure that they have all the validation they need to feel confident enough to actually do it. Skyler immediately built a client base that probably rivals most local producers in his area who have been around for years. I asked him how many clients he added to his roster in the first 8 months.
As of now, I want to say 20 something, like 21 or 22.
Adding over 20 new clients that quickly is definitely above average. That would be impressive for the Grammy-winning producers that I work with, much less someone who's still in audio school. And it goes to show that this is not as competitive as most of you think it is. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of producers who are talented at making music, but not talented at making a living. But unfortunately, there was something going on behind the scenes that was pushing Skyler to the point of burnout. I could tell that something was off. And despite the really fast progress, we decided that it would be best to hit pause for a while so that he could take care of something else first.
Balancing school and audio has never been this hard. When I started Dark Label, I had plans for 3 more semesters. So last one, this one, and another in the fall. After Dark Label, I was like, this college shit. I want out right now. I cannot do another 3 semesters. And so I decided I'm graduating this semester. A normal schedule for my major at my college is 6 classes a semester. It's already insane. I am enrolled in 9. I'm not going to lie and say there are times where it does, make me feel a little overwhelmed.
And I know, you're probably wondering the exact same thing I was. If the whole reason you went to college was to become a professional producer and you're already doing it in the real world, why not just drop out? When I was in my early 20s, I tried audio school 2 times. And both times I dropped out after a few months because I was already making money in music, doing it on my own. But Skyler isn't me, so I had to let him do his thing.
I have to finish college for my family. I've been in college for 6 years. Why would I drop out at the very last semester and just not power through it? It's not like I'm struggling. It's not like I'm poor. It's not like music production is going to go away. And I know I can make it work now. So it would be doing a disservice to my family after all the support they've given me for the past 6 years.
That totally makes sense. And it didn't stop him from, continuing the projects that he had already landed.
I've been swamped with mixes as this first month of school started because I did so much recording over that January. I said my biggest paycheck came in. So I had 25 mixes to do this last month. It was close to $3,500, which is that's my bills.
I definitely wasn't making $3,500 a month from producing when I was in audio school. So it's pretty sweet. But I want to make something super clear to everyone watching this right now. So please listen to what I'm about to say. I've had the honor of working with nearly 1,000 producers in my career at Dark Label, ranging from students like Skyler to multi-platinum industry veterans. And this was true for every single one of them. How successful you'll be has so little to do with things like the current state of the music industry or which strategy is the right one. It has everything to do with your ability to just become the person who can pull this shit off. And how we all behave and operate in this world starts with how we think about it.
I'm not a mindset, grindset guru guy. I don't f with a lot of that shit. But it is a mindset. There are some things that it's completely valid to say hey, you need a mindset change. So yeah, before I'm committing to being a poor producer. After there is no way in hell I'm going to be a poor producer. A lot of people disagree with me with this. I'm not necessarily the type of person who believes every single person, despite their like material conditions in life, can be successful. I genuinely think there are some people that it is just so unfortunate the position that they're in that, it's just a very unlucky situation. But personally, I understand that I have an immense amount of privilege in the position that I'm in, and I find it for myself unacceptable if I were not to succeed. Because for me, it's literally just like, yes, if I tried hard enough, I could succeed. And it's just about my willingness to do it.
That right there is why Skyler is going to be a successful producer after he graduates, and he already has a plan for that.
First thing after graduation is that I'm going to enjoy the shit out of a long break. I get a month. I got to get married. I got to go on a honeymoon. First thing. Immediately after that, scaling business all across the West Coast. Like, I want to have a system for traveling to my clients in San Diego and LA and all these different areas, and also bring them to me, hopefully, as well.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being very high confidence, how confident are you that you'll be able to do that?
11.